the Italian Football Podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Italian Football Podcast, the official podcast of Football Italia. I'm Carlo Garganese, joined as always by Nima. On today's show, we will review the weekend's Serie A action. Leaders and champions Inter came back from 2-0 down to beat bottom of the table Monza with an incredible comeback win. Napoli remain 1 point behind Inter with an impressive performance as they beat crisis hit Fiorentina 2-1. Atalanta also stay in the race for the Scudetto while ending any chance of a Juventus miracle Scudetto win by destroying the Bianconeri 4-0 in one of the worst defeats in Juve's history, which puts Thiago Motta's future and Juve's top four at risk. Roma threatened to get into that top four race with their sixth win in a row in all competitions at Empoli. Bologna are also challenging for the top four as they continue their good form. Milan are probably too far away, but they launched a crazy late comeback of their own to save Sergio Conceição's job for now at Lecce. And we will also preview the midweek European matches with the second legs of the European ties that had the first legs last week. We'll also have our usual Baggio, Premface and Serie ASS of the week. For all our first-time listeners, this is our free weekly episode that we do every Monday, reviewing the weekend Serie A action and all the biggest talking points in Italian football. If you want to support the Italian Football Podcast and receive all of our content that we do throughout the week, including a weekly Q&A episode every Tuesday where we answer all of the questions from our patrons, plus the weekly Thursday midweek review show, plus interviews, post-match reaction and much, much more, then go to patreon.com/TIFP and become a subscriber for just $2.99 a month plus VAT. You can also sign up to be a paid subscriber on Spotify. We'll provide the link in the description. It's the same price and terms. And for all of you who do listen on Spotify, Apple and iTunes podcasts, we'd really appreciate if you give us a 5-star rating, give us a follow and a like. We are also on YouTube, so subscribe to us there. You can also become a patron on YouTube via YouTube memberships. Just go to our YouTube channel on youtube.com/@ItaFootPod for more details. Okay, let's get into today's show. So we'll start off with the Scudetto race. We'll start off with the leaders, Inter, who are playing bottom of the table Monza, a team that have already given up on their Serie A status and are definitely going to be relegated. It was expected to be a very straightforward win for Inter, but it was anything but. They were 2-0 down in this game, but they launched an incredible comeback to win the game 3-2. So first of all, Nima, this is well, obviously it's a huge win, but it's a comeback of champions, never giving up.
Well, it was a game where Inter really dominated, didn't they? I mean, they made life very difficult for themselves, unnecessarily, of course, being Inter. That's kind of trademark history DNA of this club. And of course, it was the eve of the 117th birthday and founding of Inter. So naturally, they wanted to remind everyone about what Pazza Inter is. They complicated life for themselves. I think Monza scored two really good goals. Motta's back heel flick, dropping down, that lovely little pass to Birindelli, great finish by him. And Keita Balde with a lovely goal. That's a beautiful finish. Again, Mkhitaryan, again, Inter complicating life for themselves. But, they remained calm and they showed character. And this is something that I've been kind of critical of, that, well, when Inter goes down, I don't feel certain or secure that they can stage a comeback. Well, Monza is not the best team in the world, far from it, and they showed that they can against teams like Monza. The question, of course, now is if they were to go goal 1 or 2 down to better teams, Atalanta on the weekend, Bayern Munich, who they're most likely play in the Champions League, in the quarterfinals, stuff like that. Can they then stage a comeback? That the jury's still out on that, because Inter's big game record in the Serie A has been atrocious this season. Let's be honest. Atalanta is the only team they've beaten. and Atalanta are a team in excellent form, and Inter not so much defensively, or not so much period, because of all the the injuries and all of that, and going to complicating life against Monza. But the most important thing, I mean, as I keep saying, now at this stage of the season, given all the injuries that Inter have and the fatigue, and Simone Inzaghi today, before we started recording, revealing that Marcus Thuram plays on painkillers. There's reports that Taremi and Fratesi also play on painkillers. I mean, this is a squad that is going on fumes, essentially, both mentally but above all physically. And of course, Zielinski now out for about a month with his calf injury. Darmian already out, Di Marco already out, Zalewski already out. They are. It is a team that is very, very physically stretched. But having said that, one thing that is very good, was very helpful to see, was Çalhanoğlu coming back and looking better than he has since he got injured. That was very important. Scored a very good goal. So it does, at this point, as I keep saying, playing well is something you need to establish between September, January, so that you have that to fall back on for the remainder of the season. When you're in February, March, and it's starting to heat up, and it's all about the results. It doesn't matter how it looks. And Inter have gotten the results against Feyenoord, against Monza, especially even though they complicated life unnecessarily against Monza. They were able to react, and they were able to stage a win, and they were able to score from open play again. I mean, the game against Feyenoord was the first time in 4 games they'd scored from open play. I think they set a new record for shots taken in the Serie A, 30 in this game against
shots.
Monza.
Yeah, mad.
So it's the attack is looking better, the defense not so much. But at this point, it doesn't really matter, because, as I said, at this point in the season, it's all about results. Inter just basically have to survive Feyenoord and try to win, or at least draw, against Atalanta away, and then 2 weeks off to recover all the injured players, because April is going to be very tough. It's 2 games against Milan, potentially 2 games in the Champions League, even maybe 3 if they were to go through to the semi-finals, and on top of the Serie A games they've got as well. So it is, one game at a time is the mantra right now. Inter can't look forward and more than that, especially given how depleted they are. So it's a little bit of salt, a little bit of honey.
I mean, I think that Inter find a way. I always thought they would win this game, even at 2-0 down. Maybe if Monza would have held it 2-0 at half time, getting that goal on Arnautovic right before half time, I think that probably killed Monza's chances. But again, we've seen what I've been saying all season. I'm calling it Inter Cross FC, and I don't mean that in a pejorative way. They are monsters of crosses, Inter. It's the delivery that Inter's put of the crosses Inter put in the box, whether it's from corners, whether it's from free kicks, whether it's just from open play. They're the best in the world. I'm sorry, find me another team in the world that are better are more dangerous of crosses, that have better delivery of the ball, putting the balls into the right areas, making those balls impossible to defend, and scoring headers at the back post or however. And again, in this game, I think all the Inter goals were off crosses in this game, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So okay, the Çalhanoğlu one was off a cross, then it was headed out, and then he shot it. But it all came from crosses into the box, and the most goals scored from set pieces in the league. And this is what I mean by Inter. Even when Inter are playing badly, and they didn't play badly in this game, they had an XG of nearly 3, but they can force goals from crosses. And that is the difference. That is the difference, and that's why for me, they are the best team in the league, and I think that they should win. If it's not for the physical side, which of course is going to be a very big factor in this Scudetto race, they should be winning the league, because I think they are superior, by far superior to their rivals. And the reason, and their ability to score from crosses is, I think, their biggest weapon. There's no doubt about it for me. Their ability to score from crosses is just insane. So that was shown. The only thing I do want to say is, and I'm not saying, obviously, look, Inter deserved to win. I'm not saying they should have been disallowed, or I'm saying I've seen them given the winner, and it wasn't discussed more. It wasn't discussed a lot, which has surprised me. And I saw, I checked what the referee said, Marelli, Calvaresi, and they all said the goal was good. So, I'm not going to go against them, but I'm surprised that more wasn't discussed about the winner from Lautaro's, from the Kyriakopoulos' own goal, because the cross came into the box, and Kyriakopoulos is goal side, and Lautaro goes into the back. Granted, he doesn't hit him with loads of force, so I'm not saying this is a 100% disallowed goal, but he doesn't get the ball. He does go into him. He does force him to go forward, and then ultimately, he chests the ball into his own net. I'm just saying I've seen them given, and I'm just surprised that this wasn't really discussed much.
I'm not surprised because it's not a foul. He's going for the ball. Kyriakopoulos, what's his name? I can't pronounce his Greek name. It's lots of consonants. Yeah, Kyriakopoulos. Lots of consonants and vowels. Very difficult. I grew up with many friends who are Greeks, and sometimes their names are like 55 letters long. He goes for the ball. He tries to stop Lautaro going for the ball, and he chests it into the back of the net. If that's a foul, then we might as well just completely say that this is ballet with ball. It's not football. We don't allow challenges. We don't allow anything. We don't allow any physical contact at all. I'm not surprised at all it wasn't discussed, other than certain fan bases on Twitter who love to hammer on and yammer on about Marotta League and whatnot. But I don't care about that.
Well, no, I'm saying this, right? If the defender is goal side, he's goal side, so he's got the goal side to the ball. And if the attacker barges him in the back, if you go into the back, I'm accepting it's not massive contact, but it is.
He goes
contact
for the ball.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if he's going for it. If you barge into the player's back, I think that's a question of disallowing the goal. That's my view on it. I granted it's not loads of contact. I'm not sitting here saying that's 100%. That should be and I think once you haven't given it, I don't see the VAR changing that. But I'm saying that if the defender if you go into the back of a player, you're always risking the foul. And I always come from the position that, because this is just how I am, I always come from the position that the defender should get the benefit of the doubt because a goal is sacred in football. But it's
not a foul. That's the thing. It's not
I think it can be a foul. I think it can. I think if you barge into a player's back,
he didn't barge into him. He barged. His eyes on the ball. He's going towards the ball. The defender tries to stop him, and he chests it into the net and chests it into his own net.
Yeah, after Lautaro has barged him into the back a bit.
He hasn't barged into his back. He's going for the ball.
It doesn't matter if he's
going for the ball.
Nima, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if he's going for the ball.
If they're both going for the ball.
This
is only a crisis on Juventus Twitter, Carlo. I'm sorry.
So you have to bring up Juventus Twitter.
Yeah, because this is Juventus Twitter nonsense. This is Juventus Twitter nonsense. Every single referee has said this is not a foul, and you're talking about.
Well, the week before, Morelli said it was a foul, and you were against him. So, like,
I didn't.
You can't pick and choose when a referee.
I didn't go against him. What I said was that the Milan incident you're talking about was a dogso because then I had a better angle and we saw it was a dogso. Were you talking about the Milan incident, I suppose?
Yeah, and
it was a dogso because we had a better angle afterwards, and we saw that Pavlovic was actually the last.
Okay. Well, you changed your mind on that.
Yeah, because I had better information. When I saw the information that it was a dogso, then it was a dogso. That's why it was given, and it was confirmed by the Italian AIA as well.
You're clarifying that now. You didn't say that at the time.
No, because I didn't have the images at the time. Then I got the images.
Okay, well, maybe have a look at this again. Again, I'm not saying it's 100% a foul. I'm just saying, and for you to always defer to Juventus.
No, because this is nonsense. Because that's where it comes from. Because that's where it comes from. This is nonsense. This is only a scandal in certain parts of Twitter.
I'm not calling it a scandal. Who's calling it a scandal? I'm not calling it a scandal. I'm saying it could have been given, and I'm saying that's all I'm saying. You deferring to Juventus Twitter is childish.
No, it's not. It's not. This comes from Juventus Twitter. This comes from Juventus Twitter, Carlo.
So is my opinion that it could have been?
No, because you sit here and talk to me about natural movements, left, right, and centre, and then this is the most natural movement in a football game ever. And we're spending 4 minutes talking about something. So are you saying
that? I just want to be clear here. You're saying that my opinion that this could have been disallowed is because of Juventus Twitter.
No, but what I'm saying is this stems from that. This is not.
So my opinion stems from
no, but I'm asking. Well, if you're talking about coherence, you always talk about natural movements in football.
Yeah.
Well, that's the most natural movement ever. A defender trying to stop a ball from going towards a striker going for the ball hitting the chest of a defender, the ball going into the back of the net. It doesn't. It's the most natural movement in football ever.
No, but you can look at it both ways.
You can choose to look at it both ways.
Because I'm Juventus Twitter, yeah? That's what I'm saying.
No, I'm saying
I can never have an opinion about Inter without it being Juventus Twitter.
It's not, because that's not what I said. What I'm saying
you did say it. You literally said...
I said this is a scandal in certain fan bases on Twitter, and that's where it comes from. Every referee...
So therefore, everybody that has this opinion is Juventus Twitter, including me now.
Well, and everyone who says the opposite, including Marelli, including Graziani, including everyone else, they're Marotta League, right? I mean, if we're going to talk like that, then this is where we are.
Well, you're the one who brought it up. Why couldn't we have this conversation without you bringing up Juventus Twitter? It's so
because this is nonsense. Because this is a nonsense. This is not a foul.
It's your opinion versus my opinion.
No, it's not my opinion. It's literally.
We're talking about
natural movements week in, week out. Week in, week out. You talk on here about natural movements.
This has got nothing to do with natural movement.
This is the most natural movement and action in football play ever. There is no foul here. Both of them playing for the ball.
The natural movement I discuss is about the defender's natural movements. When we're talking about, it's usually about handballs.
So all of a sudden, natural movement of play doesn't matter. Either we look at the natural movement of play, or as a whole, whether it's not something is a natural movement, or we just pick and choose whatever suits our agendas, right?
Because this has really got very little to do with natural movement. Because it
absolutely does. It's a natural movement. Both of them are trying to stop the ball from.
So every single time someone barges into someoone's back, it's called.
It depends on the situation. Here, no one barged into anyone else.
Well, he did.
He really didn't. He really didn't. You really didn't, and it's not just me saying it. Everyone looked at it from I haven't seen a single referee. I haven't seen anyone talk about this. I really haven't. Everything I've seen from everyone is they're both going for the ball. Lautaro is got his eyes fixed on the ball. He's going for the ball. He's trying to stop Lautaro going from the ball, that's what his job is as a defender. Ball hits the chest, goes into the back of the net, case closed, goal.
Before you started bringing up Juventus Twitter, which has really got nothing to do with the story, it's just my opinion. It's my opinion. You can't tell me
that's your opinion. That's fine. But I'm telling you that this is where I've been.
This is my opinion. This is my opinion, and my opinion wasn't that it should be disallowed. By the way, my opinion was I think I've seen them given. And I have seen them given.
And we've criticized those decisions because if a situation like this is now a foul, an offensive foul on the attacker, then why do we even have... Then football is no longer a physical sport at all. We don't allow any contact.
I see that point of view. I do. I see that point of view. But I also say, and this is just the way that I see football, in which a goal is sacred, that the defender should always...
The goal is not sacred. The laws of the game and consistency are sacred.
No. Well, that's my interpretation. I think goals are sacred, and if you've ever got an element of doubt, you should always side with the defender. Always. That's how I view football, because goals are too important. That's why I've got the same opinion on penalties, and why I hate that cheap penalties are given. I absolutely hate them. It's why I would get rid of penalties, because I think that goals should be goals. They should be proper goals. I have no problem with you having a different opinion with me. I'm not even sure if this should be penalty. I'm just saying that it's childish and pathetic when you start bringing in Juventus Twitter for me having an opinion.
No, it's not. I'm talking about where this has been going around, and this is where it comes from.
Only if you go looking for it. Because there's
I don't need to know. I don't need to go look for anything. I just need to go on social media and I see all the stuff that I see. And also, I'm also talking about
fan bases. You're going to get this with all fan bases. So let's not say Juventus Twitter, Inter, because that's childish. I saw Inter fans saying that the Lautaro didn't handball the goal for his disallowed goal. You get idiots.
I didn't say that.
I know you did. I'm not saying you did. I'm saying if you want to start picking out idiots.
No, but the thing is, you're bringing this up, and this is where it stems from. I'm not saying he clearly touches his hand for me.
I know, but I'm making the point that if you start on every single time someone makes an opinion on whether it's something should be given or not be given, you start picking out and you start talking about an entire entire fan base based on a few idiots that are always going to.
It's not a few idiots, though, is it? I mean, I think it's not a few idiots.
A few idiots.
I wish it
well,
was
on both sides. Yeah,
I'd say the idiots are an extended family in this particular issue, but that's beside the point.
And that's the same on all clubs. Let's not try and talk about all. That
I didn't talk about all fan bases. I'm talking about where this is a scandal, and this is a scandal.
It's not a scandal.
But in real life, it's not a scandal.
It's not a scandal, and I said it wasn't right from the start. So I don't know why
because this should not. This is a stupid talking point. I think it's a silly talking point. I think it's a stupid talking point.
Because it's a silly talking point without saying Juventus fan base, because I didn't even say it was. I just said I've seen these given, and I can see.
Yeah, and when we've seen it given, we've been critical of them, because then you might as well just ban all physical contact in football. Because again, you have to look at each situation, and if you look at that situation, both of them are going for the ball. Lautaro his eyes is fixated on the ball. He has a right to go into that space, just as the defender has a right to stop him from going into that space. There is no foul whatsoever. The ball, he chested into the back of his net. It's an unfortunate incident for the defender. That's it. And seen them given. Yeah, I've seen lots of. I've seen handball goals given. I've seen lots of bad decisions given. Like, it does. I don't understand that at all. If we can't sit here every week and say football's a contact sport. We can't give penalties for we don't want to give soft penalties, but we're allowed to disallow goals for nothing. There's no foul here. That's the point I'm making.
Okay, that's fair enough. And like I said, I see both sides. I see both sides on this. But let's ask the big question for Inter. Can Inter win the treble now?
Really? I mean, I don't know. Nah, I don't think so. Look, I'm standing by my position.
Can they win the quadruple, as Inzaghi said?
Yeah, I mean, he was. I love that little smile with a finger, first the three fingers, which became like that screenshot became like everyone was using that, and then we saw the quadruple. Then he clarified it. No, I'm going for we're talking about a quadruple. He's having fun with it, isn't he? He's relaxing much more. He's much more assertive and comfortable in the role he has at Inter, and that's why he allows himself to say these things. He's having fun with it. What he said, and if we go away from the three fingers and four fingers and this, that, and the other, what he actually said is the fact that we at this stage of the season are in all three competitions, with a chance to win all three competitions, is a source of pride for us, and that is true. He should be proud of that. He should be proud of that. It is a huge source of pride for him, given, as he has also spoken many, many times, that since he took over Inter, and something that the players feel pride over, the fact that they don't invest since he took over in the transfer window. They always turn a profit or go plus minus zero. I mean, he literally verbalized this, and that, to be able to compete on all three fronts when we don't have the biggest budget, that is a source of pride. I mean, that's the angle he's coming from. Personally, look, as I said, with all these injuries, Zalewski, Zielinski, Darmian, Di Marco, Thuram, Fratesi, Taremi, all playing on painkillers. Lautaro, whose fitness has been up and down all season. It's not, Acerbi just came back from a long injury. Çalhanoğlu just coming back, slowly coming to form. Look, it would take a miracle for Inter to win the treble, because again, look at their April. They have 5 games in the Serie A, 2 in the Champions League, 2 in the Coppa Italia against Milan, and potentially a third one as well in the Champions League, on a team that is already very depleted and very physically tired and mentally tired. I think it would be it's asking too much, and that's why I've been saying for like a couple of months now that Inter need to choose which tournament they go for, Inzaghi has to coach every single game now, from now until the end of the season. Every single one has to be a World Cup final. Now, that takes a lot out of you mentally to charge for that. Physically, you can mitigate it, but it takes a lot out of you to go into with that attitude. He has to rotate. He knows that. I just don't see Inter having 3 titles in them this season. I think maximum 2. I think Coppa Italia and 1 out of Serie A and Champions League, they have to choose which one. because as much as we criticize Bayern Munich, look at them. It's a world-class team.
They lost at the weekend, though.
But I know Vincent Kompany is
Against
not.
Bochum.
Yeah, that's fair. But
although they were down to 10 men in that game. But yeah,
But
I don't know. I think
it's not realistic.
I look
to
at the
ask
physical
Inter of a treble.
limitation. I look at the physical limitations of the team, and I'm inclined to agree with you. With the numbers
And the depth as well before
Yeah.
the injuries. I mean, you have lots of players who not, they're relying on Marko Arnautovic for heaven's
But then
sake.
again, this defence, and I know this is not an age or an era where being able to play Catenaccio is very conducive to success.
No, it's
I know
unfortunately not.
It's not.
Unfortunately not.
But having said that, though, I've seen Inter basically play in their own penalty area for pretty much 90 minutes against Napoli, and probably for most of the first half against Feyenoord as well, and barely concede a chance. Like
That's fair, but you can't win the Champions League.
I know they then let in two goals.
Well, exactly.
But I
That's what I'm
think that when
saying.
they want to, I mean, they've conceded one goal in the Champions League this season.
Yeah, but if you look at the
mad.
stats, they've actually conceded more touches in their own penalty area in the Champions League per game than they have in the Serie A. More XG conceded in the Champions League per game on average than in the Serie A. That's more down to chance than anything else. I think that sometimes they've had the ball go their way in the Champions League. I don't think that's more down to fantastic skill. And also against Napoli, look, Napoli created more than enough to score at least one goal. Let's be honest. Inter had one shot on target, one chance, and that was Di Marco's free kick.
Yeah.
They didn't have anything else. You can't, this isn't Mourinho's Inter. Mourinho's Inter was a team that had won 4 years in a row. They were used to winning. He sold Ibrahimovic and bought 5 starters for that money that all walked into the lineup and improved Inter, which allowed them to play.
And that Serie A, where there was no challengers at all.
Well, exactly. There was no challenge.
Actually, I take that back. They had to still win it on the last day. But
it wasn't. It wasn't realistic. I mean, that Roma were going to win because Inter were better.
Yeah.
And if you look at that team, that was Sneijder, Eto'o, Maicon, Julio Cesar, Samuel, Lucio, Thiago Motta, Cambiasso, Diego Milito. I mean, all of those players were, if not the best in the world in their position, then certainly top 2 or top 3 at the time in their position, in their respective position in the world. Inter don't have the best goalkeeper in the world. They don't. They don't have the best right wing back in the world. They don't have the best striker in the world. They don't have the best midfielders in the world. Did you see what I'm saying? Like, it would take something unbelievable.
It's a tricky one. It depends, because if you break down each competition, then you can say, well, Inter are the best team in Serie A, so they should be winning the Scudetto. They're the best team in the Coppa Italia, so they should be winning the Coppa Italia.
But if you look at the games that are left in the Serie A.
Where are they based on the teams in the Champions League? Well, they're up there. So you think individually, each competition, they can do it. Who have they got after Bayern? They beat Bayern. Who's the semi-final? What's the semi-final?
Barcelona.
Is it Barcelona in the semi-final? Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, but I think it's when you combine.
I got to be honest with you.
When you combine them all together, it's.
I got to be honest with you. I think Bayern is a much trickier game than Barcelona. I think Barcelona have lots of weaknesses, and I think it's a team that suits Inter really well. Bayern, not so much. Leverkusen, not so much. But given how the draw was, I did still prefer them to play Bayern or Leverkusen in the quarters over playing Liverpool or Arsenal. Not Arsenal, Liverpool or Real Madrid or something like that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, there's a long way to go.
You've got to pick your poison, don't you? So
I think Bayern are vulnerable as well, especially defensively.
They are.
I think Barca are vulnerable defensively with their ridiculous high line.
Absolutely.
So I think it's. But then
it's just the way that the thing about Bayern that I don't like that Inter struggle with, as opposed to Barcelona, is that Bayern are much more direct and quick. Barcelona still have their retaining possession identity, right? I know they're more direct now with Hansi Flick, but it's still a little bit less direct. Bayern are it's just straight line, and they pummel you. And it's teams that go at Inter directly like that with speed.
Yeah,
is a team that Inter struggle with. There are teams that Inter struggle against. and that's why I think
But
that
then
it's gonna.
Barca are a lot more direct now as well
They are. They
with Hansi
absolutely are.
Flick,
They absolutely are.
with a Bayern manager,
Yeah. No, I know, and I
I
said
think
that.
I think with Barca is that they will totally dominate the midfield against this kind of aging midfield into midfield.
Well,
But
I'm looking at the Bayern midfield, and I mean, I'm sorry, between Musiala, Kimmich, Sane, Muller,
yeah.
Coman, Nabri,
Well, it's
Goretzka,
a little bit. It's more the
Pavlovic,
attacking
Laimer.
midfield positions. The deep positions, I don't think they're as strong as
No.
Bayern. But
But then they have Alfonso Davies. I mean, you know, it's look, Bayern are a fantastic side. Let's be honest. Like
mm,
they are. I'm not. Their weakness is Vincent Company. We know that, right?
yeah.
And I think everyone in the world agrees with you there. But I mean, if you look at the Bundesliga, they're what 8 points clear of
Yeah, Harry
Leverkusen.
Kane's finally going to win a trophy in his career.
Yes, yeah. I mean, so that's that. I mean,
Yeah,
and then you look at the other, like it's everyone likes to shit on Bayern Munich and Real Madrid until we reach this stage, and Bayern Munich cannot be like the quality they have is at some point it's going to have to make itself felt, even though they have Company on the bench. Um,
mm,
Barcelona to me suit Inter more. Like I said, of course they're more direct now with Hansi Flick, but they're also very vulnerable at the back. Bayern to me are much more solid at the back, and they're much more direct, and they're much more high intensity. Um, and that's the kind of team that doesn't that doesn't suit Inter at all. So people need to
the
calm
best
down.
team I saw in the Champions League last week by a mile was PSG, and somehow they lost. Somehow they lost at home to Liverpool. So yeah,
Yeah, but I mean, they have the best goalkeeper in the world. That's why they managed to win that. I
yeah.
mean, I mean,
Anyway,
Alisson
listen, we'll come
Becker.
back. I'm sure we'll come back to this.
But I mean, look, I'll tell you this much. I'll tell you this much. Let's come back to this
Yeah,
after the international break because I think we have to see where Inter are fitness wise. If they can recover, Zalewski, Darmian, Di Marco, if Spalletti doesn't call up Di Marco and piss Inter off and open war ensue between Inter and the FIGC, because if he does that, that will happen. Because Di Marco's not fit enough to play for Inter, but then if he recovers in time for the international break, Inter will lose their shit. There will be an open conflict between Inter and Italy, the national team, if that happens. So we'll have to wait and see. Hopefully they don't do it and they manage to maintain the
yeah.
peace. And if they do, let's see where we are
Yeah, I just
when the
want to say
treble
one
comes.
thing though. Marko Arnautovic could win the treble twice with the same team,
If it happens,
15 years apart, which
I
is
mean that's
mad.
another thing. Like it's Marco
Without playing any
Arnautovic.
role in either of them, basically.
Exactly. But it's like, well, and that's another thing. Marco Arnautovic. Like, is it two trebles for Marco Arnautovic?
I
Like,
know.
how likely does that sound
It's
when you
like
listen?
he'll become like the Christian Karen Burr of modern football. Like crap player who wins everything, basically.
No, but you know what I mean, though. Like, doesn't it just ring wrong in your ears?
Yeah, it
Do you know
does.
what I mean?
It's
Like, I
pretty
just
funny.
can't see that happening. I can see him maybe winning either the Serie A again or the
Mm.
Champions League again, but a treble?
Mm.
Nah,
I know.
come on.
Let's move on. We discussed Inter for way more
Yeah,
than was planned for various reasons. So Fiorentina. Napoli end their winless streak. 5 games without a win going into this match. They win 2-1, and I thought they played very very well. It was a
I
very
agree.
very good performance from them. Albeit against a team that are in complete crisis, which we'll come to. So we do need to take that into account. But I thought they played. What I really liked about them wasn't just the performance, and it was deserved to win. I thought they played some really great football because
Agreed.
that's something that's been criticised of Napoli and Antonio Conte, I guess, throughout his career. He's never been seen as somebody that's a beautiful a manager that plays beautiful football. But I really enjoyed the football in this game. I thought they had some
Agreed.
great team moves, best exemplified by that brilliant second goal, the brilliant interchange,
Raspadori.
the one-touch football, the short pass and move football between Gilmour, Lukaku, and Raspadori for Raspadori's goal. I mean, I thought that was a world-class goal, team move, beautiful to see. But I enjoyed all of it. I really liked the way they controlled the midfield. I really liked the double midget pivot, I call them, of Lobotka and Gilmour, the two little dwarves. I mean, they were some of the football those two played was really great to watch. The short game, I thought, these last two matches against Inter and against Fiorentina, we've kind of seen Napoli. We've seen that the Napoli that of the level of performance that if Napoli are going to win the Scudetto, this is the level that they're going to have to play at. And I think they've come out of that. They've come away from that kind of that period where they were looking really almost like not very sharp, quite tired, not creating anything. And they had one of the best attacking performances of the season. XG of 2.88 in this game, 11 shots on goal. They created chance after chance. Really, they should have put this game to bed. They should have won by at least 2 or 3 goals in this game. So that's the only negative that they risked. Risked throwing away 2 points after what was a really great performance.
I agree with everything, all of that. The only difference, the only thing I want to add, not difference, the only thing I want to add is when Fiorentina scored their first goal, well, half the deficit, nerves started to creep in. And if you remember, Napoli were outstanding against Roma away. That Angelino equaliser at the death really debilitated, destabilized them mentally for 4 or 5 weeks. And they didn't win for 4 or 5 weeks, or 4 weeks after that, right? But here, the fact that they were able to play well, they scored twice, they should have scored more. They showed real grit, heart, determination, especially Politano, who worked himself to death. I mean, he was exhausted when he came off. And you look at the manner of which the goals come as well. Raspadori in this 2-man attack this is his position. And the way that, they created many chances, they looked fresh, they looked relaxed, they looked like they believed in what they were doing. The belief was there more again, which it hadn't been for the last couple of weeks, especially against Como. And it really was a continuation of the performance against Inter. So now I'm looking forward, and okay, Venezia away at the weekend, international break, Milan at home, Bologna away, Empoli at home, Monza away, Torino at home, Lecce away, Genoa at home, Parma away, Cagliari at home. You look at that. That is a very good run.
The Milan and Bologna games are going to be tough ones, but other than that, it's a good schedule, isn't it?
It's a very good schedule, and they're going to play once a week. They'll have time to prepare for it. They're now talking openly about winning the Scudetto. Conte was talking about 11 finals. This is he's in a good position, because conversely, you go and look at Inter. You look at the games they've got left. Atalanta away, Udinese at home, then the Coppa Italia against Milan, then Parma away, Cagliari at home, Bologna away, Milan in the Coppa Italia, Roma, Verona at home, Torino away, Lazio at home, Como away. Those are not easy games.
Yeah, I think if we want to break it down to tough games, I think Napoli have got 2 tough games, Inter have got 4. But then Inter have got a 1-point advantage, and it's too early still to make calculations. Let's say that, but let's just say that.
Well, this is why I have Napoli winning. This is why I have Napoli.
It's way too early to make calculations, because things can change, form can change. A few games ago, Napoli looked completely dead and were playing horrifically. The last 2 games, they've stepped it up. And Inter look a bit very tired at the moment, but they could pick it up as well. So it's when their players come back. So I think it's great that there's a great title race. I just think from Napoli's point of view, it's good to see them, important to see them back playing well again, and also not just Raspadori. Lukaku, I think, has been really good the last 2 matches.
Yeah, agreed.
I thought he was excellent again in this game.
Agreed.
He scored, he got an assist, he set up Spina for a big chance. But also, one player that hasn't been mentioned, Lobotka, I thought he was outstanding. I thought he was man of the match in this game. I thought he was the way that he run the play in midfield. He's so good in those tight spaces. I love watching him. He's like a Slovakian Marco Verratti, isn't he? Like on the ball, he's so good. Like he's a press breaking machine. You can't press him; he'll go past you. His short game is beautiful, and I'm surprised watching him flourish with Gilmour in these last 2 games. So I think that the question marks now are, and these are good problems to have for Conte is when Anguissa
Anguissa,
comes back, what do you do with Gilmour? I mean, I think Anguissa comes back. You have
of
to,
course.
but it's good to have that now. You've got someone that can come in for him and do a good job. But also, when Neres comes back, what do Napoli do? Do they go back to a 4-3-3? Do they stick with a 3-5-2? What happens to Raspadori because he's scoring goals?
I think it's a good option.
It's good
It's a good
options.
thing to
Yeah,
have
yeah.
because think about it. Think about games because they're not going to. I mean, I doubt that they're going to blow up teams off the park for the remaining 10 games. There's going to be games where they suffer. There's going to be games that are complicated. If Neres and Anguissa come back with Gilmour, with all these other options, that they've shown that they are viable options now that work in the system, that is, that's a good thing to have because then he can switch it around mid-game. That's something that Conte's always been criticised for. He has no plan B. It's only one way or another. Well, looks like he's actually got a plan B this time around when Anguissa and Neres come back.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Agreed, yeah.
that's also the flip side of it, if you will.
Mm.
But one thing about Raspadori, not just Raspadori, but Retegui, Raspadori, Esposito, Keane, Pinamonti to a lesser extent. It really, this season has so far been one major talking point in the Serie A that I think should be, is the, not renaissance, it's too soon, but a comeback of the Italian striker. Not saying that they're all world class, but we're seeing things, and even in Serie B with the emergence of this, the youngest Esposito brother, who's now the top Serie B goal scorer and is an absolute beast the way he's playing. It is very nice to see that Italy once again has central strikers that are delivering, forwards that are delivering, that are looking good, that have an upwards trajectory in how they play. I thought Moise Kean's little flick, back heel flick before the goal was beautiful. I think Raspadori's link-up play and the way his short game and passing game is wonderful to see. It's nice to see the Italian forwards and strikers having, well, after a decade almost of not doing anything, of not having any, we actually will have an Italian Capocannoniere winner. I think there's a good chance that Moise Kean finishes second on that scoring list. And Raspadori's really taken the chance now that Neres is injured and they're playing a two-man attack.
Yeah.
So that's something.
No, I
just
agreed.
really,
It's not often that we can
no.
speak about hope with Italy
No.
for the last, since when? I don't know, 15 years?
Yeah, well, exactly.
Since Del Piero and Totti were playing into their late 30s and they were still the best Italian attackers out there.
I mean, it's been very grim for a long time. It's nice to see that, you do see.
And Italy tried to steal Santiago Castro as well from Bologna, but he's rejected them.
Yeah,
So
of course.
we tried to get him as well. Let's move on. Well, just quickly on Fiorentina. I don't want to speak too much about them because I want to have a good chat about them next Monday if they go out to Panathinaikos, which and then we'll talk about them in a little bit. Or you can actually in your post match because I'm a little bit worried about them going into.
I am
game.
too.
I'm worried about them going to their game. They let's call it what they are. They're in crisis right now. The position in the table might not show that, but their form right now, 5 losses in their last 6 games. They're playing terribly. They're defending terribly. They're conceding so many goals, so many chances. Have a look at the number of shots they're conceding and XGs they're conceding in every game in recent matches. I watched them against Panathinaikos, the second half of that Panathinaikos game. I know you did the post-match on that, which everyone can listen to, patrons. But it was a pitiful performance against Panathinaikos in that second half. And
the start
to the game as well,
yeah. I mean, the first 20 minutes were just atrocious.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm worried. I am worried they might struggle to overturn that. But yeah, right now, again, I don't want to talk about this, but right now, it's not working. What on paper looked like a good January, the January signings seem to have weakened the team, disrupted the team. The January midfield signings in particular have definitely weakened the team.
I don't think they've weakened it. I'll tell you who's weakened the team. Daniel Pradé needs to learn to regulate his emotions and thoughts. What the hell is he doing? He's going out pretty much now on a weekly basis, throwing Palladino under the bus. this cannot be good for team morale.
No.
Like, I don't understand. He's the one who signed the players. At this point, Fiorentina should be focusing on the Conference League, which they can reach a final of, and who knows what happens in a one-off final if they play Chelsea. But for him to come out week after week and criticize the coach and talk about how disappointed he is and how annoyed he is and how he doesn't like how they're playing, and
No, I agree. I agree completely with that. I do.
I mean,
I do.
what the
And
hell?
we shouldn't, and as we'll talk about in Juventus, we shouldn't underestimate how important it is, the upper management, in terms of, going
regulate
down
your emotions, control
But
yourself.
I do want to say that Fagioli has proven now once and for all that I know he scored against Panathinaikos, but Fagioli has proven now once and for all why he's not a player.
He's not a Juventus player.
No,
he's not
he's
a top
not.
four player. I think he's a decent player, and I think Fiorentina is the level he should be at.
Well, even at Fiorentina, I've not been impressed by him. He's just way too easy to play through. He every single game, he just, the team, they were just getting played through like a Milan midfield, like a Milan.
I just want to say on this game though, because they are lucky not to. Goodmanson is lucky not to be sent off. He was on a yellow card when he goes into that challenge. He is one lucky boy that he did not get sent off, because that is I'm not saying it's a straight red, but it's certainly a second yellow.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Fiorentina. Yeah, Fiorentina play Juventus next on Sunday.
It's two teams in crisis, isn't it? And it's
well, yeah, for sure, two teams in crisis. We were going to talk about Atalanta now, but that's a nice segue. So let's talk about Juventus first. They don't quite where to start here. This is, I've been watching Juventus now for 35 years, well over 30 years, 3 decades. And this is up there with one of the worst performances and worst defeats in my lifetime for Juventus. Well, the stats tell you it.
It's the biggest home defeat in Serie A since '67.
Yeah, 58 years. 1967, they lost the derby to Torino 4-0. I know about this because I helped produce like a little mini kind of documentary on Gigi Meroni, the Torino legend. This was a long time ago. And he
what was this for? Goal? No.
No, this was for another project. This was way back.
Okay.
And Gigi Meroni died the week before that game, that 4-0 derby.
Oh, really?
He got run over tragically by the future Torino president. There's a whole incredible story in this.
I did not know this.
The future president of Torino was the person that run over Gigi Meroni and killed him. And then he later became the Torino president, which is absolutely bonkers in itself. And Gigi Meroni was going to be a superstar of Italian football. The guy was absolutely incredible. Well, he died a week later in a very, very kind of emotional derby. Torino thrashed Juventus 4-0, and I think the guy that wore Gigi Meroni's number 7 shirt actually scored in that game. Anyway, I remember it very, very well, and so this brought back memories of that. That was the last time that Juventus had lost by 4 goals at home. So it's a historic defeat. But it wasn't just that the defeat. It was the performance. They were battered from start to finish, and it's the kind of result and performance that gets a manager sacked.
At Juve, for sure.
At Juve, at most, I would say any big club, But when you got to put it into context of the situation of the season and where Juventus are at. I always thought that the title talk was unrealistic. I think I said that.
Of course, it's unrealistic. They were mathematically still there.
Yeah, I thought it was stupid. I said, let's wait until after the Atalanta game, and then we can start to have a talk about it if they're still there. Well, no, there we go. It was shown. This was so bad. Juventus in this game. Listen to this. Atalanta had an XG of 3.73.
That's insane.
Game,
that's insane.
That's absolutely insane. It's insane.
And they were unlucky because they hit the post. Di
Gregorio made 2
amazing saves.
Yeah, Di Gregorio made 2 miracles from Lookman and from, I think it was Darun just before half time.
No, Zappacosta, I think.
Was it Zappacosta? Well. That might be Zappacosta, yeah. They scored 4, but it could have been 8.
No,
I
it
mean,
was
I don't
mental.
know how to break this down. Let's start with the defending first. Then we'll come on to the bigger picture about Motta. Let's just start with this game. The defending was just abysmal. I mean, the XG says it all. Every goal, if you want to go through individually on every goal, the ridiculous mistakes, the Milan-like individual mistakes. McKennie for the first goal. There's no defence on that. I know I've said, coming back to our argument before, that when you jump up, you naturally put your hands up a little bit.
Yeah,
You
but
don't
you
naturally
can't.
put your hands up in the air like Superman or like Elon Musk in Trump's inauguration. You don't do that. I mean that's just insanity. I mean, what the hell is he doing? What are you doing? I mean,
What are you
what are
thinking?
you doing?
Like his hand is literally straight up.
No, it is.
I mean, it's like it's not even on this side. It's literally just straight up.
No, and you can't use the excuse of you're jumping up and you got a bit of a nudge, which can cause you to
Yeah,
put
but
your hands
not
not that
that.
high. No, not that high.
Exactly. I mean,
Not that high.
he did a Superman. Like he
To
did.
come back, that is not a natural movement. A natural movement is a natural
Well,
movement.
it's a natural movement if your name is Clark Kent and you're in a phone booth changing to Superman. I mean, it's just before you fly into the sky. I mean, it's just it's. I couldn't believe he did that. I just looked at that and
That's
go,
number one. Number two, second goal. We got Lloyd Kelly or Lord Kelly. I'm calling him Lord Kelly now from now on. Lord Kelly. I'm going to take the Lord's name in vain with him. I'll tell you that.
No, but he's like Lord Bentner, isn't he?
Yeah,
Like,
that
he's
is.
one of those,
Lord Kelly.
it's one of
Lord
those.
Kelly. I mean, what is he
Yeah.
doing? No one on him at all. He just gives the ball away so easily, and so that's the second goal. And then the fourth goal. If anything wants to sum up Dusan Vlahovic's career, that
At
is it in a
Juve.
microcosm. Just the whole clumsiness. You try and kick it with one foot, you fall over and kick it with the other foot, and give it and create
Your example of him turning the radius of a First World War tank.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I can say it's a First World War tank. I think that's too modern. I think like the Trojan horse in ancient, like, I mean,
well, that's what it was, wasn't it? It was a bit of
what the hell is that? I stood there watching it, going, nah. Like, do you know what I mean? Like when you watch
he was literally the Trojan horse, wasn't it? It was like the Greeks got the Trojan. Was it the Greeks? Wasn't it? They got the Trojan horse, plonked it there, plonked Vlahovic in the centre of the field, and then there you go, opened it up, and he
but I don't even understand how he manages to miskick it like that. It's an accomplishment in and of itself. It's a no-look pass, or whatever it is.
No, it was a no-look pass. Yeah.
You know, it's like a reverse.
No,
Ronaldinho.
it defied the laws of physics.
It's a reverse Ronaldinho. Like, I don't know.
No, you couldn't try to do. If you tried to do that 100 times, you couldn't do it. If Ronaldinho tried to do that, he
probably would do it, but he would do it in the right way round. But like it was, I couldn't believe that. And then I'm sorry, but Kolasinac and Zappacosta turning into Real Madrid for the third goal. It was a humiliation, Carlo. We have to be honest about this. This
it was. I tweeted it.
Unacceptable. This was humiliating. Juve were humiliated at home, and then you look at the atmosphere that you're listening to this, where the crowd is all silent, the Curva are protesting. It was a disaster show. I have to say,
it was. I honestly don't think it's an exaggeration to say that this will go down as one of the most infamous.
I was just about to say that. I think it's one of those negative historic nights.
It is. It's one of those, like, you know, like if you think every team's got one.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't know what would Inter's.
It's 6-0. Gianni Comandini 2 goals. I mean,
that, and it's kind of it's a bit bantery, the fact that Comandini scored 2 goals in it.
Yeah, I mean,
this will go down like, you know, or like Milan losing 6-1 at home to Juventus.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, that during a bantery, you know, that during the season when they finished, what was it, 9th or 11th or something, and then this will go down like, you know, especially if they don't finish in the top 4. That this will be played and it will be like, oh, this was the game where Lord Kelly gave the ball away. McKennie did a Superman penalty and Vlahovic did a no-look.
And Zappacosta and Kolasinac turned into Guti and Benzema. Like, I mean, it's just like it was embarrassing. It was really embarrassing. And for me, that's it. I really can't see Thiago Motta. Like, if you remember what I said last week on Monday, I said, if at Juve, you have to, when opportunities present themselves, capitalize on them. Not necessarily win the Scudetto, but here there was a chance to actually involve yourself in the Scudetto. This was, an exam. And boy, did Thiago Motta and Giuntoli's Juve
I agree with you, but
miserably.
I think that there's opportunities and there's exams, but there's there's
but Carlo,
losing.
4-0,
That's what I mean. That's the point.
like
there's losing. Juventus could have lost this game 1-0. Could have been quite a tight
That's
game.
different.
Could have gone either way, and we could have sat here and said, okay, the Scudetto's over. It was never realistic. It was never going to happen.
Exactly.
But we go for the top four, and on we go. There's a few that on we go to the future.
Precisely.
I think that what this game for me shows is I think definitely.
I'm sorry, but it's dead. Like, he can't continue. I'm sorry. I don't see. And with the international break coming up,
I think from the end of the season, I think we're now probably in the Sergio Conceição Milan territory.
I'd say we are in the Sergio Conceição,
where it's just
he's a dead man walking. He's a dead man walking.
Well, it's just how can you go forward after a defeat like this? I'm thinking ahead to next season. I mean, I think the question's there now immediately. I think that he's going to...
I think so as well.
I know he's not going to get sacked now. He's going to get the Fiorentina game. But I think if they don't win that game... we're recording this before the Lazio against Udinese game. If Lazio win that game against Udinese, they go 1 point ahead of Juventus. If Juventus don't win against Fiorentina, or if they lose to Fiorentina, we could be talking 3-4 points behind. And then there's other teams. We'll come on to Roma after this. Roma that are on fire at the moment.
Yeah, 6 points behind Juve.
Exactly, and Bologna are only 2 points behind, and they're along with Roma the most informed team at the moment.
Fiorentina beat Juve. They also again are back in, aren't they? Because they're just 7 points behind.
Absolutely. So I think there's a possibility that he could be sacked after the Fiorentina game if that result doesn't. But even if they win that game against Fiorentina and he continues, I think that whatever happens between now and the end of the season, remember we discussed this about a month ago, and I said, that I was speaking to the people that I was speaking to were saying that even the top four might not be enough for Motta. And
I don't think it is.
And I said this a month ago, and I said that what will determine whether Motta is there next season is how they play, how they perform between now and the end of the season, along with a bit on his relationships with players and directors and all that kind of stuff. But most importantly, how Juventus do in the last 2 to 3 months of the season. Well, I think this has to basically come into factor in that now, doesn't it? You lose 4-0 at home, then that is.
But it's not just losing 4-0 at home. It's the fact that you could have lost 8. Yeah. Like, it's the fact that this was an exam where you were to show what the metal that you're made of. Are you da Juve? Are you able, whether you win or lose?
And what's the most worrying about this, Nima, is that...
And the answer is, he's not da Juve, he's da Bologna.
No, and this is why, and this is what I always say. When you're deciding towards the end of the season whether you want to continue with a coach or not, or whether you're going to sack him, you have to look at what is there to build on. Now, this is why I was always against Allegri. It was nothing to do necessarily with being against his style, or that I even thought he was a dinosaur, even though I made fun of that and I played on that a little bit. It was always
a little bit.
It was always down to the fact that with Allegri, I never saw anything to build upon with Allegri. And that's why I wanted him sacked going into the last months or weeks of every season. With Motta, right? And I'm not comparing the two at all. So I don't want to start comparing them. I'm saying with Motta, I'm actually saying we've got to a point now with Motta where I'm thinking, right, if Juventus stick with Motta, right, what is there to build upon? Well, I'm looking at it now and I'm struggling. I'm struggling because the only things that there were to build upon up until 2025 was they had a tight defence, very mean defence, and a team that was had very excellent shape out of possession, were very hard, very well compact, very well organised, very hard to play through, and as a result didn't concede many chances and didn't concede many goals. That was number one. Number two was they were a team that were very good in controlling games, whether you want to call that possession or just controlling. When they were they had the ball, they kept the ball well. It was difficult for the opposition to get it off them. Okay, there were big problems in creating chances, which we've spoken to about. But those were things to build upon. So I could say, right, that was part of his identity. I look at Juventus now, and I've been saying this for weeks. I've been saying this even during their winning run. So I'm not just saying this as a reaction to a 4-0 loss. Everybody that listens to the pod regularly will know that I've been saying this for weeks. That the only thing of Motta's identity, those things have all disappeared. The tight defence has disappeared now because they concede all the time, and I know that's also down to injuries, but still, the mean defence has gone. The shape of the team was completely gone. I mean, it was embarrassing watching Atalanta cut through them at will. The number of counterattacks, the number of naive, kind of suicidal kind of attacks where they left themselves so open that was so un-Motta-like, the kind of things you'd never see Motta do. In fact, we used to almost criticise him for being too overly cautious and never leaving him the team open at the back. I mean, so bad. So the shape has gone, the defensive strengths have gone, and even the control of the game has gone. Okay, I know they had more possession than Atalanta, but generally their possession numbers have gone down massively recently. And we've also seen Juventus try a lot more long balls, long direct balls, which I think they needed to do. I'm not saying they shouldn't. But what I'm saying is, where's the identity? There is no identity now at all. So there is, what is Motta's football now? I don't know what it is. I knew what it was up until January, and obviously it had weaknesses. So if you're going to carry on with Motta, well, I have no idea what to expect. And I don't even know which players. Okay, that's also on Juntely. I don't even know which players you build around for next season now, because all over, moving away from Motta, all over, I don't see any guarantees anywhere with players. You know, I think
there is none. There is none.
Maybe Di Gregorio, and that's it.
No, but I'm calling it. I think the Motta project is dead now. I think, you can lose games, but it's unacceptable at Inter Milan and Juve to lose like this. Atalanta, I read a stat somewhere that they had 1 win in 26 visits to Juventus Stadium, and then they go and do that. I mean,
yeah.
It's Atalanta are a top side. This isn't about Atalanta. It's about Juventus. It's a complete and utter collapse.
I have to be honest with you though, and I don't want to take anything away. I actually thought this 4-0 was more about Juventus than it was about Atalanta. I
understand what you mean.
I don't even feel like Atalanta had to do anything really special in this game. I don't even think Lookman had an amazing game. I don't even think Retegui had an amazing game. I don't think any of their players were particularly amazing in this match.
They just had a decent game.
I thought they just had decent games. They carried out their plans. I don't think there was anything truly special about Atalanta.
I mean, except for the third goal, which is traditional, like a typical Atalanta move. Yeah. I mean, they executed what they do, and we shouldn't be snobby about that. But I do think that you're right when you suggest, or at least that's how I interpret you, that more than Atalanta's brilliance, this was Juventus' dreadfulness.
Yeah, it was a mess. It was a complete mess.
And I have to tell you, I'm not being funny, but I really want to know what you make of these Allegri coming in rumors, because I personally think they're nonsense.
No, they're nonsense. I don't buy it. I think
there'll be a cold day in hell before Allegri accepts after the way he was sacked.
It's complete nonsense, and it's there's no chance of it happening. But I actually think if it did happen, it would be the end of the Juntely project as well.
They have to get rid of him.
It would also, if they did bring back Allegri, it would completely sum up what a complete shambles this club is and how it's being run. And I don't mean that. And I don't mean that as a criticism of Allegri. I just mean I mean that as what the hell is the direction of this club? It's the same criticism I will have. It's the same criticism I will have of Milan if they bring Allegri back, because I'll be like, well, what is the direction? What is your project? You have no project. You're jumping from one thing to another. You're going from this manager to that manager. You're desperate. You haven't got a clue what you're doing. Now you're just throwing shit at the wall and hoping
something sticks.
100%.
100%.
But
I mean, that's the thing though. If that were to happen, Juntely can't continue. There's no chance, because
talking in political terms, it can't continue. No, but I mean, I do want to say though. And I don't want to go into too much detail because I spoke about this last week about Juventus. Is that and I saw Saki kind of stuck up for Motta as well, and I can't remember who somebody else stuck up and basically tried to blame kind of like the upper management. But I explained in detail last week how Juventus right now are very much similar to Milan and Manchester United in that they are being run so badly in
I
the upper
agree.
management, up above, and I'm talking about going right up to the top, right up to Elkan, that when a club is run that badly, everything filters down onto the pitch, and it becomes
100%.
very, very difficult. And I don't want to
100%.
repeat everything I said, so just listen to the I think it was it the pod I did last Monday, or was it
Yeah.
the pod after the Empoli defeat? It was one of the two.
Yeah, it was after the Empoli game.
I think it was after the Empoli game. Have a listen to that, because I spoke for a good 10 minutes and I explained with insight, having spoken to people about how badly Juventus is being run throughout the club, all the different departments, all the different club departments, from the medical team to the financial team to the recruitment team, how these people don't report to anyone, how there's no one, it's just a mess. There's no synergy, and how that is all, and then the club becomes very toxic, becomes very poisonous. And we saw the Juventus fans are now basically doing what Milan fans are doing. They're openly calling out the ownership and the management, and saying that that you guys are incompetent.
Yeah, but at
And
the
so it's
same time, this is a
toxic.
Juventus side that invested. This is the thing. I think it's different, slightly from Milan, in the sense that Milan chose. I mean, they had a whole mess with Lopetegui. Then they went after Fonseca. They brought in players. Nobody was excited by it. They won the derby. Then it was a little bit up and down. Fonseca gets sacked. They bring in Conceição. With Juve, that was like Giuntoli's year one. He was like, I'm coming in and I'm cleaning up all the mess. I got rid of Allegri, which everyone knew was going to happen. I brought in Thiago Motta. They made their decision months in advance. They wrapped that deal up. Everything was set. They bought all the players they wanted to buy. I mean, and it just completely exploded spectacularly in their face.
Yeah, for sure. But I think there's
to me is almost a little bit like worse, because if you have time to plan something and you execute that plan, and that plan turns out to be an absolute shit show, I have to question your competence.
Well, no, for
at a
sure.
whole
We've
other
spoken
level.
to about Giuntoli to death, haven't we? We've been hammering him for several months, for a number of months now. So again, I don't want to repeat it, but there's so many different layers to this. There's the coach,
100%.
there's the sporting
100%.
director, there's Elkan, there's all the different club departments. There's just what a mess, how badly the club is being
The
run.
injuries.
The toxic nature that the club is in now. Like with Milan, once there's open war between the fans and the club, and those running the club, and the manager and the players, it's so toxic. It's like Man United's been for the last 10 years. How do you possibly win and build anything?
How do you work in an environment
How
like
can
that?
you work in an environment? And then you get to the players. And sometimes it's difficult to know whether, are these players actually good? Are they not playing well?
Or are they just in a toxic environment?
Are they just in a toxic environment? Are they playing badly because the coach is not getting the best out of them? It's the same questions we had with Allegri as well. Or is it, which one is it? It's difficult to know sometimes. Like, I look at some of these players and I look at Nico Gonzalez. I can't believe how bad he's been. Koopmeiners, I can't believe how bad these two players.
I look at Vlahovic and wonder what the hell has happened.
Well, I think with Vlahovic, it's happened for too long now under different managers that I think we've probably got the answer there. Most of the answer there.
Probably.
Maybe he missed his development phase, maybe, but I think we've probably got the answer there with Vlahovic. But with Nico Gonzalez, with Koopmeiners, these are two players who were absolutely fantastic at their previous clubs. So with them, with those two in particular, but there's other players as well we could talk about. Is the failures of Nico Gonzalez and Koopmeiners, is it down to Motta? Is it down to the fact that they just Giuntoli made bad signings? They weren't as good as we thought they were. They weren't good enough. Is it the toxic environment? Which one is it? It's hard to know, because we're not. It's like, with Manchester United over the last few years. Manchester United have bought so many players who you think they're going to be good. They've been really good at the clubs they bought them for. They go to Man United and they're a complete disaster. And you think, well, they can't all be bad, these players. Surely,
it's not,
do you know what I mean? But then it comes to the managers as well at Juventus. Motta's failed. Allegri's failed. Who was before him? Pirlo. But I mean, they can't. All these managers, surely. I mean, it's been 5 years now since Juventus won the league. Can all these managers all be failures, or is it Do you know what I mean? Is it every single player and every single manager's fault, or is it the environment? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I 100% know what you mean, because
It's
that's why I
difficult
think
to
that,
know.
you know my position. I think Inzaghi, I think Allegri was very, very poorly treated because of that. And I think that I think now we're seeing just what an unbelievable job he actually did in those circumstances, in very difficult circumstances. And I think that this puts everything in a different light.
I mean, yeah.
I've got to be honest with you. I think it
I
puts
think
the entire Allegri tenure into a completely different light.
I mean, I disagree with your conclusion now. I agree with your premise in a bit, in the sense that, you know what, this environment made it impossible to win. Maybe that's true, and maybe I underplayed that. I disagree with the conclusion that he did a brilliant job, because I
I'm not
can't
saying you did a brilliant job. I think you did the
I
best you
can't
could do.
agree with that when I look at, you know, again, you know, some of the historical negative records that he and how far he was off the top of the table. I think 16 points away from first was the best season he had. Like, we can't, let's not pretend that he did well. But I would agree with you that with this environment, can anybody succeed? And if he did do well, and if he did do badly, if he didn't do well, like I say he didn't do well, was that because he's not good, or was it because the club?
Who can work?
Do you know what I mean? So I will give you that.
And also,
but
I mean, add at least that in the middle of his tenure, the entire club board resigned due to the nonsense that Paratici and Andrea Agnelli masterminded in the Prisma investigation. They all had to resign. And that's still ongoing, the criminal investigations.
Well, yeah, but again, Nima, that's what makes this.
For
that environment, you still
work in that. You know, 10 points added, 10 points taken, 15 points added, 15 points taken. I mean,
yeah, oh yeah, that was insanity. But I mean, let's
what
not.
do you want him to do?
But
He was completely drained. They exhausted him,
for
and
sure.
he's a very mentally strong person, Allegri.
Yeah, but let's not pretend. Let's not pretend the environment's good now. It's a mess. It's just
no, it is a mess. But I mean, it was way worse.
The legal stuff is not what it was. But
look, when it was way worse during Allegri.
Of course, now, but I mean, oh my god,
like the tenure, the shit he had to deal with was just not normal.
No, but the club is being run. So some of the stories I've been told, that I've been told that I can't repeat because I'll give away who's telling me the information, are unbelievable. Some of the stories, and I'm thinking, is this Juventus? And then you understand, and then you understand why they're failing.
Yeah,
you know.
No, it is a mess. It is a mess, and it's. I seriously wonder if they will finish in the top four. I think they have to pray.
They need to pray this week that all the Italian teams go through, including Fiorentina.
Yeah.
And that Roma knock out Athletic Bilbao, and maybe pray that Man United somehow knock out Real Sociedad.
No, without a doubt, a doubt. That's exactly what I was going to say. But yeah, it's genuinely shocking.
I agree, because I think the psychological damage this defeat, the manner of this defeat will do.
It becomes a symbol, doesn't it? Like, it's a symbol of everything that's wrong at Juve right now. To me. Like, that's what the defeat was. And I was watching this and going, if I were to... This is the symbol of what Juventus is under Giuntoli this season. It's an absolute mess. And I just don't see how Thiago Motta survives this. I wonder if Juventus didn't kill his career. Like, that's how bad I think it's gone. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah,
I still think that at this moment in time, the only savior is Roberto Mancini, because he's a strong character. He's been at the biggest clubs, City, Inter. He's won with Italy. He was a fantastic player. He knows how to handle fantastic players. He's coached the best. You need someone like that.
Yeah, I think given the environment and the toxicity of this club, maybe you do need someone that can handle it. Yeah.
If he can handle the toxicity of an Inter banter
going for another young coach, however talented that young coach might be,
he would be killing them. You're becoming a coach killer. Yeah. Like, you don't want, at this moment, you need someone who already has an established career, who has character, who is strong, and knows what it is to be at a difficult place when things aren't going well, And the football he plays is possession based. I mean, it's not we're not talking Mancini at the first tenure at Inter where it was.
No, for
I mean,
sure. I
he's
mean,
changed.
he's coming off. He's coming off a poor end to Italy and then a disastrous period at Saudi Arabia. So but anyway, listen. I'm sure we'll have a chance to talk about the potential
Yeah.
successors. Maybe next week.
Mm.
Juventus. I mean, Atalanta. Listen. We do still need to praise them because while this was one of the worst defeats in Juventus history, this is one of the greatest wins in Atalanta's history. It's a game that will live long in the memory. I mean, they've had some great special games under Gasperini, wins under Gasperini during this his reign. And I mean, beating Leverkusen in the Europa League final is probably the best. But I mean, you've got winning at Anfield against Liverpool twice. You've got that
Twice.
thrashing of Milan when Gasperini did that famous donkey dance on the touchline that all Milan fans still cry about today. You've got the Valencia win in the Champions League. I mean, there's a lot of great victories, isn't there, that Atalanta have had. But this is up there with all of them, isn't it? I think.
Absolutely. It absolutely is one of the greatest wins they've ever had. It's more importantly, whether we like it or not, whether we believe in it or not, this is Scudetto race back on. There's no doubt about that. Look, they're 3 points behind Inter with 10 games left to play. They have by far the most difficult schedule left. Inter at home, Fiorentina away, Lazio at home, Bologna at home, Milan away. Those are just the next 5 games.
Yeah.
Then they have Lecce, Lecce at home, Monza away, Roma at home, and then Genoa and Parma. Genoa away, Parma at home. Now, conversely, you can say that, well, those top games are where Atalanta do their best work. And it's the smaller teams, for some reason, this season where they've struggled. The Atalanta-Venezia game comes to mind. The Club Brugge game comes to mind. The Cagliari game comes to mind. But I think they will. I think with 6 points down to Juve, I think we can rest assured that they're going to finish in the top 4. The top 3, sorry, not top 4, top 3. But it's going to be interesting because that Inter game now becomes monumentally important. If they beat Inter, they equal Inter. Napoli can go 2 points clear. Look, it blows the Scudetto race wide open, and they're at home.
Yeah, it's a massive game.
It's an absolutely huge game. And with Inter, look, every time I've criticized Inter for their poor performances in big games and the results in big games, everyone has been, well, we beat Atalanta in the beginning of the Inter fans always say, oh, but you're being too negative. We beat Atalanta in the beginning of the season. So basically, I mean, what everyone has been saying, oh, but Inter's record in big games is bad, but we beat Atalanta in the beginning of the season. Well, now that kind of, again, that becomes an exam for Simone Inzaghi and Inter, because Napoli have got Venezia away on the weekend, and Inter just 1 point ahead of them. And that if Inter drop points, well, then you have the sorpasso from Napoli. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, so, this is a tricky one for Inter, and for Atalanta, who have nothing to lose. They probably have the least to lose in all of this. For them, it'll be a free ticket right back into the Scudetto race, which many believe that this could be their year. The difficult fixture list notwithstanding, because let's remember, this season, as I've drawn to before in the past, there's lots of similarities between this season and Inter's the first season under Simone Inzaghi, when Milan won the Scudetto. Remember Milan's run in those last 6-7 games? It was just difficult games, and they won all of them. You could make an argument that Atalanta could do something similar this season, this time around. I personally still am very skeptical. I still don't think they can do it. I think for them to win every 10 games, essentially, they would have to win every single game at this point, going into the end of the season. I just don't see them doing that. I think Napoli are my favorites, but look, you got to give credit where credit is due, and mathematically they are right back in the Scudetto race. They are right back in the middle of this,
Yeah.
and they can win it. They can win it, absolutely. And that game against Inter becomes monumentally important now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the thing is, it's one game, and the problem with the one game, the Juventus game, it's one game, and Atalanta's form in 2025 has been bad. It's basically been win, draw, loss, win, draw, loss, win, draw, loss since the beginning of 2025. And, you know, they've had some massive wins. I think 3-5-0 wins and a 4-0 win. But they've also had so many draws as well. They're only going to win the Scudetto if they go on a run of consistent wins. So far in 2025, they haven't done that at all. So, you know, next game is Inter. They need to win that if they want to win the Scudetto.
Agreed.
But they have an awful record against Inter, of course, who seem to have had their number. So from a tactical point of view, it's going to be interesting to see if Atalanta try to adapt, if they're capable of adapting, because Inter certainly seem to have them tactically. But what is the morale has to be high after this. You know, winning like this, a historic win. And also it's nice to see Gasperini and Lookman kind of kiss and make up at the end of the game as well, because that is something that was a bit of a shadow, a bit of a cloud going over hanging over them. So that was really, really nice. But yeah, I mean, they keep in the race. Lots of good individual performances as well. Retegui and Lookman really, you know, causing lots of trouble. Ederson and Darun, I thought, were really good in midfield. They dominated. Zappacosta kind of playing in this left wing back role, which I don't really like, but he did well. And I thought the defense was comfortable. Hien, I thought, was really good. He took out Colin Wani. So yeah, good, fantastic, historic win.
Retegui is now going to be the capocannoniere, I think, with 9 goals ahead of Ademola Lookman. He's
seven.
Sorry, ahead of Moise Ken. Sorry,
yeah,
and 9 goals ahead of Thuram and Lookman. It's looking like, yeah, I mean, he's going to be the first capocannoniere, their second ever capocannoniere in the Serie A. The first one being Filippo Inzaghi in his only season at Atalanta, when Lentini played. He scored 24 goals, and that's the record. I think Retegui is going to blow that. I think he's going to go close to 26, 27, 28. And if they're going to win the Scudetto, he has to.
Yeah. So, yeah, for sure. Milan, just like Inter, their cousins, incredible comeback, 2-0 down, even later than Inter, because the 3 goals came in like the last quarter of the game. And this comeback saved Conceição's job for now. He's still a dead man walking. He's still going to definitely leave at the end of the season. But I think if they hadn't have had that crazy comeback, I think he would have been gone probably after this game, and they probably would have brought in Mauro Tossotti just to steer the ship into harbour till the end of the season. But you know, it was a crazy comeback. You know, Pulisic scored a couple. Welcome return to form for him. João Felix had a bit of an impact off the bench. He forced the own goal, even though it wasn't the best shot. So, yeah, I mean, Conceição survives another day.
It was a crazy game, Carlo. It was crazy. I'm sorry. Yeah. Between the 2 goals cancelled for Jimenez and Gabbia correctly for offside, between the posts hit for Lecce and for Milan, I mean, it was just this was bonkers. This game,
it was.
You know, there was so much going on in this game that I don't even know like what was going on, and it was just mental. But they did win, and that's important. They needed to come back, and they, again, under Conceição, one thing they can say is that they stage late comebacks. Okay, this wasn't as late as it's been before, but still, you know, they got the equalizer in the 73rd minute and the winner 8 minutes later. So it's but it was an absolutely mental game. It's one of those games where you talk about XG. I think they had 3.6 XG, 70% ball possession, just 16 shots, 5 big chances. I mean, it was just mad.
Yeah.
It was.
They also were completely shambolic defensively.
Oh, they were horrible.
Completely shambolic. But this doesn't change much, other than, you know, it keeps Conceição on the job for now. They're still way way too far off the top four for that to be realistic. You know, if we do get our fifth place, who knows? We'll see how Lazio get on Monday as well. I thought the most interesting talking point, though, was what preceded the game, and that was the whole drama with the Conceição spokesman.
What the hell is going on?
Yeah, I mean, so Conceição's spokesman, and the name I haven't written down, I've forgotten, basically went on an outburst before the match, or a few days before, basically saying that Conceição was unhappy with the Milan management. He thought it was a bit of a shambles. He was unhappy with some of his players. He just was basically not happy with the club and the way it was being run and everything. And anyway, Conceição sacked his spokesman. He denied the statements. He had a meeting with the Milan, said this wasn't his opinion. So who knows? I would just say in this kind of situation, and given everything that we know about Milan and how badly it's being run and everything we said in this pod, I would say that there's definitely not smoke without some fire here.
Oh, I think
or the other way around.
Sorry, exactly. I was going to say, classic that. No, I look. All I'm going to say is we dissected Milan for 30 minutes, I think, last week, and went through everything that we believe and think is wrong. Just go back and listen to that because I don't want to repeat that. But it's strange. It's strange times because the feeling now around both Milan and Juve is that Thiago Motta and Conceição are dead men walking. It's a matter of if, it's a matter of when, not if, they both get sacked. And it has spectacularly exploded in both of their faces this season in a way that I really didn't think was going to happen.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we don't want us to repeat ourselves every week, but I do want to. There's one thing I do want to talk about, and that is some very other interesting quotes from Ariel Breda, who's a legendary former Milan director that worked with Berlusconi and Galliani during their golden age under Sacchi and then Capello and everything. And he said in public that Milan can't build a successful team without a core of Italians like the successful Inter have in recent years, and how obviously Juventus did before that, with the BBC and everything. It does seem
that must have been Christmas for you when you read those quotes.
Well, I just say I've been saying it for years. How many years have I been taking the piss out of Milan for?
Oh my God!
Anti-Italian discrimination at Milan. But I mean, it does seem from what's coming out in the media that does now seem to be the plan. That Milan, that they had finally the light bulb. They've had their light bulb moment. They finally realised that yes, you do actually need some Italian identity. You do actually need some Italian players to build around, because these are the kind of players that you can actually build something sustainable around. Foreign players leave. Inter have proven that.
Everyone
the BBC, Juventus proved that. They stayed. The BBC included.
No, because it's not. This shouldn't be that difficult to understand. That if you are Italian, if you are from Italy, and you play for Inter Milan and Juve, there is a prestige aside from the financial gains you get from that. There is a certain prestige that means more to Italians because they are Italian. It's not really rocket science, is it?
No. But you can also keep these players as well.
Well, that's what I mean, because they're from the country. They are from there. They know the culture. They are Italian, for crying out loud. So it's easier to build around them, and they can usher in and explain more to the foreign players how things work at these respective clubs. It's just certain things you can't explain. You just got to be born with. You got to be raised there. It's especially in Italian football that is that complicated, and the intangibles and the quiet part is more important than the loud part many times. And you need to have that group of players. And I think more than anything, I think selling Tonali was a huge mistake. I think they sold their soul a little bit. And now we have his agent talking about he'll return to Italy. I don't think could it be Milan? I think he would love that. But, we'll wait and see. I think it was a mistake. I think a huge mistake was selling Sandro Tonali. I understand why they did it at the time. I disagreed with it at the time. But I think, they
sold their soul in that summer of 2023, didn't they? Yeah. And it's been a complete mess. I'm not saying that. I mean, listen, I know we have to also acknowledge that they'd had a disastrous season that season, and they didn't
did.
actually qualify for the Champions League. They only
Absolutely.
got in the Champions League because Juventus got kicked out. So let's not forget that. And Maldini was still there, at that time as well. But if you look at how things have collapsed,
they're ninth now, and they.
But I mean, off the pitch as well. But yeah, it's I think that is what's neat. They definitely need a bit more of an Italian core. Obviously,
no, they need stability. I think just like Juve, I think it's same but different. They need stability. They need a serious project, and they need people who can run that project, who are experienced.
Yeah.
Now, whether that's Paratici, I'll leave for another day, but it is evidently clear that they need to bring in experienced people who understand the workings of Italian football and understand what it means to be at a club like Milan.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Absolutely. And don't base their project on a baseball movie would help as well. Lecce, very quick. I want to praise Krstović. 2 goals. For his first goal was great. Second goal was good finish as well. I think he's going to join a bigger club this summer. I think he's ready now. I really like him. I like how he puts himself about. He's got one of the best shots in the league, one of the best long shots in the league. I think he's great in the air. He's one of the best headers of the season a few weeks back. I don't know if without Krstović, Lecce would probably be down by now this season. He's got 9 Serie A goals.
I think it was the first goal he scored, which I absolutely loved.
Yeah,
which one was the long shot?
The long shot was the first goal, yeah.
Yeah, the first goal. Oh, that was stunning.
He's got a great long shot on him. He really has. So I think he'll join a bigger club.
Another Balkan jewel potentially found by Pantaleo Corvino, who's made a career out of finding jewels in the Balkans.
Yeah.
And thereabouts, from Bojinov back in the day at 15 to Jovetic to God knows, who just won. It's funny when you look at sporting directors and you see that there's certain parts of the world where they just are better at.
Yeah.
And he's very good at finding.
Yeah, they have contacts. They have they have a network there. Yeah,
we'll see. He's going to be the big sale this
for
summer,
sure.
I think.
For sure. Right, Roma.
Where do you want him to go? I would love him to go to Fiorentina. I think Krstović at Fiorentina would be, and they already have.
Yeah, I don't think he's of the level of a top Champions League team, but I do think for a Europa League level team, I think he can do a job, even if it's not necessarily as a first team starter, but as a rotation player. I
think Fiorentina, he would be very good at Fiorentina.
Yeah,
with Moise Kean, not replacing him, but with Moise Kean.
Yeah, possibly. Or even Lazio. We're talking about Lazio needing a backup or an alternative to Castellanos, and he's somebody that's very.
We had a question on that on the Q&A.
Yeah, and he's very good in the air. He's very good in the air as well.
So we had a question on that on the Patreon Q&A question. So add that, continue on from that.
Yeah. So Lazio play on Monday night across Roma at Empoli. They win 1-0, and they rotate most of their team. They rested 7 first teamers in this game. They started the likes of Nelson, Abdul Hamid, Saleh Eddin, Shomurodov, and they still dominated the game and they won. They scored in the first minute. Soulé, really, really another really positive day for Roma in what was a really positive week after beating Athletic Bilbao, and they ensured that they rested most of their players, many of their players for that huge second leg, which is
going to need it.
They're going to
need it.
They're going to definitely need it. Yeah, but I mean, Roma is again. Don't want to repeat what we said last week. 6 wins in a row now in all competitions. Their last 12 games in Serie A, unbeaten. 9 wins, 3 draws. And whisper it a little bit more loudly than we did last week, and we brought it up last week. They're up to 7th. They're 6 points off the top 4, although it will be 7 if Lazio beat Udinese. I mean, they've got a tough run, a very tough run. I think after Atalanta, they've probably got, in fact, probably more than Atalanta, they've got the toughest end to the season because they've got Cagliari and Lecce next, so they could get 6 points and be even closer. They probably will be closer. But then they've got Juventus home, Lazio, Hellas, Inter away, Fiorentina home, Atalanta away, Milan home, and Torino away. That's the end of the season. So, I mean, when you add possibly still being in the Europa League,
Hopefully going all the way to the final.
Yeah,
We
we
need
hope.
that Derby della Capitale.
It's going to be. Listen, it's going to be
final.
very difficult because of the number of games and because of that incredibly difficult fixture list. But I mean, they're just on fire at the moment. They're the most
But
informed.
one thing that is interesting is that you could have a situation in a couple of weeks' time when you go into that Rome derby that you have Roma and Lazio fighting for that fourth spot as well. I mean, if that tie needed any more spice.
Absolutely. Can you imagine it?
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That for top four, and then hopefully Europa League at the end of the season as well.
Yeah.
Magnificent. Sure. Yeah. I think if Ranieri, we're talking about coach of the season, if Ranieri gets Roma into the Champions League, I don't care who wins the league. Ranieri's coach of the season. I don't care.
If Ranieri gets Roma into the Champions League, whether it's finishing in the top 4, top 5, or winning the Europa League when finishing outside of the top 5, then he is the coach of the season.
Absolutely. Like they were nearly they were a couple of points off the relegation zone. No, it's insane.
Always trust Nonno. That's all I'm going to say.
It's insane. Yeah.
Rest of the
weekend fixtures. Just a word on Soulé. He's really emerging now. He scored a couple of really important goals in Serie A, and it's good to see. I'm really
that was
glad.
A lovely.
I'm really glad they persisted with him because Italian teams with young players, they don't have patience and they discard them way too quickly. Juventus, more than anyone, have been guilty of this. You could name probably a couple of handful of players that they've just discarded and they've gone on recently Soulé, someone that easily they could have discarded in January after his first half of the season. Ranieri was very key in saying, "I believe in you. Just just be patient." And now, even this season, he's starting to be an important player for them. I think he's going to play an important role in their running. Soulé.
100%. They're going to need their depth, and Ranieri's really making use of it.
Yeah.
And he scored a lovely goal. I love that goal. It was beautiful.
Yeah. I've always liked Soulé. Rest of the weekend fixtures. So, Cagliari 1, Genoa 1, Como 1, Venezia 1, Parma 2, Torino 2. So kind of relegation race, kind of where it was with those teams. And then Hellas 1, Bologna 2. And we have to say that Bologna are right in the top 4 race now as well. They are 2 points behind Juventus, 2 points off the top 4. They're right there. No one's talking about them. And they're also, like Roma, in very, very good form. But also, like Roma, have a ridiculously tough end to the season in the fixture list. So it's all to play for with the top 4.
Yeah, it really is all to play for.
It's a great end. Can I just say one thing, Nima? Serie A is absolutely fantastic to watch for the neutrals now because there's everything's to play for. The Scudetto race, you've got 3 teams. You've got the top 4, which is between how many teams? Juventus, Lazio, Bologna, Roma, maybe even Fiorentina could come back.
4 or 5 teams there.
4 or 5 teams.
And that's all of the European spots. We've got Milan who will try to get into there. And then you've got the relegation base, the teams that are like 7-8 as always.
Yeah.
Like we're finally having a normal.
This is how I remember as a kid. This is how title races and seasons always used to be. You never used to have stupid teams going like PSG or Bayern 30 points ahead of everyone.
Celtic and Rangers winning a decade.
Yeah.
Like winning every year for a decade no, it's not fun. We want competition.
So if the level is not being great, I mean, I actually think a lot of people would actually swap having maybe the level being higher among the better teams to a lower level, but excitement. I think they would.
I agree.
And in fact, that's actually what we're seeing on this podcast. Actually, to be honest with you, the numbers, the interest has actually gone up. Even though we're being openly honest about it, this has probably been, in terms of quality, one of the worst Serie A seasons recently, in terms of, especially at the top in the Scudetto race, the big teams. It's actually the lowest average at the top of the table since the Juventus Conte first Scudetto in 2011-12. It's the lowest average that's going to be won by or at the moment in terms of who's at the top of the table. So. But it's excitement. It's great.
Yeah, it's very exciting. It's very competitive, and it's fun because it means that everything matters until the end, and that's what we want. We don't want a club dominating. Like, this is the normal, and we want the normal.
Yeah, for sure. The new normal.
Return to the new normal.
Return to the new normal. Right. European fixtures. So big week. So Inter finalled on Tuesday. Inter 2-0 up from the first leg of their Champions League playoff. Hopefully should be no problems there. Final, obviously, totally decimated, and I just don't. Inter just got to make sure they don't take it too easy, but I think they should be fine. And then 3 massive games in the Europa League. We've got Athletic Bilbao against Roma. Roma 2-1 up from the first leg after that Shomurodov with the last kick of the game. Lazio versus Victoria Peltsin after their winning with 9 men with the last kick of the game. And then Fiorentina against Panathinaikos. Fiorentina 3-2 down. So first things first, I'm confident Lazio should be fine. They should be okay, Lazio, even if it's only a 3-day rest, which is not particularly great from the Serie A, but okay. And then Fiorentina, Panathinaikos, I'm worried for Fiorentina. I have to be honest. I'm a bit worried for them. In a similar way that I was worried for Atalanta, but I hope it's I hope they can get through, but they're just not playing well at all at the moment.
They're not. It's not looking good at all. And like I said, Pradé's outbursts aren't helping.
Yeah, they need the crowd. Helping. We need the crowd to really push them and create a really incredible atmosphere there. But yeah, that one I'm a little bit nervous on. And then
it's difficult for them to have an atmosphere as a place as a building site.
Well, yeah, there you go.
So
should have probably
half the side is they're like, you know, you got tractors and like dirt being dug up in the background. So yeah. I'm worried about Fiorentina too, and I just hope they can pull through. And I hope they focus on the Conference League because that is an important. I mean, if they can win that, that's the ticket to the Europa League.
Yeah,
because I don't see them finishing with the run-in they've got and
no,
the situation.
I don't think I probably would agree with you there. And then Athletic Bilbao Roma, which I think Ranieri rightfully said is a 50-50, and I agree with him. I think it is a 50-50.
Agreed. 100% agreed.
It's Athletic Bilbao looked good in the first leg, and the positive for Roma is one, they're going there with a lead. That last minute, if they hadn't have scored that last kick from Shomurodov, I would have given them little hope.
Agreed.
But that gives them something. But also, I think if I'm not mistaken, Athletic Bilbao might have both of their 2 centre backs out. I don't know what the injury status is on the lad that got injured. Was it Danny Vivian? And then was it Danny Vivian got sent off? And
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Who was the other lad? Oh, I've forgotten now. Gone all Prem. But yeah, they could have both of their 2 centre backs out, which obviously is very good for Roma if that's the case. Right, let's finish off with Baggio, Premface, and Serie ASS of the week. So Baggio, I'm going with Bruno Pizzur, the legendary former Italian commentator who was synonymous with the Italy national team for many years, dating back to late 70s through the 80s, the World Cup won in 82, especially in the 80s, Italian 90 in particular, his name, his commentary, and he died at the age of 86. So very, very sad news. And yeah, another legend leaves Calcio.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Bruno Pizzul, he's synonymous with Salvatore Schillaci. You can't have one, not the other.
Go on, do the impression, Nima.
I mean, the Schillaci. I mean, it's just
that's one of your best impressions. I have to say, it's brilliant.
I mean, it's just I always, whenever I think of him, I think of the 1990. I think of 1990, the World Cup 1990. I think of 94, the game against Nigeria, where even he gave up, and then Baggio scores the equalizer with 10 men. And I see, the 98 when I'm in Florence.
The missed penalty.
Di Biagio.
Yeah.
It's the crossbar, and he says, "Yeah, finita." I mean, it's just, and the elegance and eloquence that was so synonymous with his commentary.
Yeah, it was a different style of commentary, wasn't it, to the kind of more modern style of, it was more understated, wasn't it? It was it was more kind of let the action, don't talk just for the sake of talking. It was,
you're not there. It's not about you. It's about the players.
Yes.
It's about, you're supposed to be there to spice it up.
Yeah.
and to explain what's going on.
You get some commentators now that, they make it about them. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I like both. I mean, I like colourful commentary.
I think it depends on who it is, as long as it comes across as sincere and professional.
I
think
I said before, I met Bruno Pizzul before the Euro '96 group game against Czech Republic at Anfield before the game.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, he was a giant of a man. That's my one memory from him.
he was
He was
huge, wasn't he?
huge. He must have been about 6'7", 6'8". Honestly, I mean, I was young at the time. I think I was like 11 at the time. So he was a giant. That's my biggest memory. I only met him very briefly. It was before the game outside the stadium, going into the ground, and he was walking in, and he was a giant, absolute giant. Yeah, and he was a giant of Italian football as well. Premface of the week, Nima.
Before we get to Premface, for me, the fact that Serie A did not have a moment of silence for his passing is the Serie ASS of the week. I think it's disgraceful.
Did
I
they
think it's
not? Yeah,
absolutely
I didn't notice
disgraceful.
that. Yeah.
I was disgusted by that, to be honest with you. To me, that is the Serie ASS of the week. Even though we have Fubo TV in Canada, several.
So they can do no to piracy. Piracy kills before games, but they can't have yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
That's unusual though. We have to say
yeah,
that it's unusual because usually Italian football is very good at kind of commemorating and honouring its heroes and the respect that it gives. And I think that's one of the greatest things about Italian culture. Full stop.
agreed.
The respect that you get that Italians give you. If you're a good person, if you do good, if
Yeah,
you bring something to the world that's really positive and gives something to people in one way or another, there's no culture on earth that pays you that gives you the respect back.
yeah,
And then Italian football is an extension of that. So I am
agreed.
I'm surprised that they didn't. I am
Yeah,
surprised.
I mean,
Maybe they'll do something before the Italy game. Maybe.
I hope so. They better, because I was
Mm.
really disgusted by that, because he deserved to. But other Serie A's has got to be. We've
Well,
got this sent in from Matthew Provenzano, one of
no.
our
Can
patrons.
I just present the because it's more than just one. And this is becoming a weekly thing. It's the Serie A TV rights, this is actually becoming ridiculous now, Nima. Like every week now, we're getting because people are realizing that we're going after the Serie A TV rights, and people are sending them into us. And when you realize that every week it's like there's at least one or two networks around the world where they can't bloody watch the Italian games. Something's going wrong. And this week we've had two, haven't we, sent into us this week?
Yeah, we had. It's the same one. It's Canada. It's in Canada, and both were
No,
trying to watch.
Super Sport as well. It was Africa as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, they were both. Oh yeah, yeah, but they were both trying to watch. In
You do Canada, I'll do Africa. Go on.
Yeah. No, this was. I mean, Matthew Provenzano said I nominate the Serie A of the week to broadcasting rights. The feed of the Juventus Atalanta game keeps cutting out to Premier League highlights. Fubo TV, someone on Twitter, a Juventus fan, said, "Hey guys, just a gentle effing reminder at Fubo TV Canada that when I click Juventus Atalanta, I actually don't want my effing stream to show me West Ham Leicester."
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Well, I got one sent, and this was sent to me after we recorded the Monday show from last week, but it's actually from the weekend before. But still, I'm reading it out now. So this got sent in. Oh, and I apologise, I haven't written down who sent it in, but it's I'll read out the comment. It says, "I watch the games on Supersport's football channel, focusing on Serie A." That's in Africa. Some African countries. I'm not sure. I think most of the African countries actually have Supersport. But the last week, it's been showing La Liga games. Last night, the Roma game switched off on 65 minutes to go on to Osasuna. It's hilarious, isn't it?
It's going well. This is going well for them. It's going really well for them.
It's brilliant, isn't it? I was
Yeah.
speaking. I was telling my at the cake show. I was telling my Bangladeshi friend about this, and he was talking. We were talking about. It reminds him of. I don't know if anyone's ever watched. Let's listen and watch the East is East film, right? Where there's this guy, this Pakistani guy who owns a cinema in Bradford, and he has some like relatives that come over to the cinema to watch a film. And obviously, because it's his own family, he wants to look after them and really put on a show for them. And so I think there's a whole family, like Muslim family, that come in, 6 or 7 of them, and he takes them into a film that's already halfway through the film, right? Kicks out a family of like 6 or 7 people so that they could have a seat, and then changes the film and starts the film from another film from the beginning, so his family could come on. And my friend, my Bangladeshi friend, was telling me about it. So that reminds me of that. Like you're watching, like, can you imagine? You're in the cinema, you're watching a film halfway through, and then you get kicked out so they can put in, so that the owner of the cinema can put his family in to watch a film, and then they change the film and put on a new film, and it's like that's what reminded him of the Serie A TV rights. That then you're watching the Roma game, 65 minutes in. Oh, sorry, you can't watch the game anymore. You're going to watch La Liga Osasuna.
It's weird, isn't it? It's weird. No, it's been going on for quite some time now. It's just.
But don't worry, Nima. Don't worry. Everything's going to be okay because Miguel Chicarese and the Serie A guys have flown to New York, and they're trying to negotiate to get one Serie A game a season in the United States. So everything's okay. Don't worry about it.
When I saw that,
worry, Africa.
I laughed.
Don't worry,
hard.
Africa. Don't worry, Africa. Don't worry if you can't watch any Serie A games. Canadians, don't worry if you can't watch any Serie A games. Everything is going to be okay.
Genoa Lecce next season is going to sort everything out.
Yeah, the Americans are going to save us. Everything is okay.
Yeah, when I saw that, it made me laugh. I mean, to be fair to them, and the funny thing is, they're actually making, they've increased their viewership because they've realized that if they show games on an actual channel in the actual language of the audience they're trying to reach, this particular audience being Hispanics, they actually show Serie A games with Spanish commentators, with Spanish studio and so on a Spanish channel. It turns out people watch it. So that's how they've grown their viewership in the US. They've actually targeted the Hispanic audience.
If you believe those viewing numbers, listen, I've worked at DAZN for many years. I better be careful what I say. Let me just say that TV companies blow up their figures all the time, and you can't prove it. Nobody knows. Yeah. There's nothing stopping us, me and Nima, right now, from saying that we've got 1 million people that are listening to our podcast. There's nothing stopping us.
Except decency.
Yeah.
Except decency and honesty.
I mean, most of you would think we're talking out of our arse, but you wouldn't be able to prove it. There's no way of proving it. You can make up the numbers.
Yeah.
So, they say the numbers have gone up. Maybe they have.
They have. They say 50%.
I hope they have. But I'm just saying that they could easily make those numbers.
Yeah, but it's for me, the thing that made me laugh was the way they explained it. Like, so we've realized that there's lots of Hispanic speakers in America. And we've decided to produce content for them in Spanish.
Listen, at the end of the day,
it turned out they watch it.
Nima, at the end of the day, the proof is in the pudding. The pudding is that you can actually watch games in markets, which clearly we're not able to do, and that's the basic requirement. And number two, I want to see I want to see good TV deals, with competent TV organisations that are putting on these games. But number two, I want to see the TV deals and the money that's being paid for TV deals go up. That's the pudding.
That's the proof in the pudding.
The pudding isn't the viewership numbers going up. The pudding is how much you getting for these TV deals. Well,
that is true.
In the last years, the TV deals, the money, the revenue has been plummeting year after year, including in the United States. So,
absolutely.
Let's not try and sell.
Only then can we truly say and mean that Calcio is back.
Yes, and only then can we say, yes, I believe your numbers, because your numbers mean nothing unless you because the numbers, you can only prove the numbers once you've got the TV, the revenue goes up, because that's the proof. So let's see what happens in the next TV.
What's your Serie AS? What's your Premface?
Well, it's quite a lot of Serie AS.
Yes.
Do we have one?
Yeah, I saw the Carragher versus Speed killed my soul a little bit.
I
watched 10 seconds of that, died a little, and then I turned it off. That was painful.
Yeah. Can we call Speed a Premface? I guess we can.
No, I don't think so. Why would we call that?
Because he's stupid. He doesn't know anything about football. He's completely ignorant about football. That is the
I love how he triggers you.
I'm sorry, I don't want to sound like angry old man yells to come. He's everything that's wrong with the young generation. Everything. That's all I'm going to say. Everything. He's completely talentless. What is he doing on football? Why is he? What's he got to do with football at all? Doesn't know anything about it. Nothing. He's not funny. He plays first one to move his gay games. I mean, what? I mean, I just don't get it. I do not get it.
With the Red Bird advisor at AC Milan, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, I might add. It's.
I don't get it. I mean, do the young generation what's crazy?
Well, he's not for us. He's for children.
He's not for children. No,
he is for children.
It's not. It's teenagers and people in their 20s that worship this guy, and they want to aspire to be him. They're like, what do you want to be when you go? Oh, I want to be like Speed. I want to be an influencer like Speed. God.
Less said about that, the better.
So yeah, he's my Premface.
Yeah. No, I thought that entire exchange between Carragher and Speed, because it was just so cringy.
The last Gazzetta that I want to, the last Serie ASS that I want to do is Gazzetta dello Sport for their news story they did on Nikola Hidalgo, which I thought was shocking. It was very, very tragic death of Nikola Hidalgo, who's a former Juventus player, a youth player, who died at the age of 32 years old. He played for Juventus. No, actually, he signed for Juventus in 2014, so he was about 20, 21, I think, when he was at Juventus. And he didn't quite make the grade at Juventus, and he ended up moving to Spain, and he ended up having a career in Spain. And he died very tragically at the age of 32 from lung cancer, which had affected his bones. Diagnosis came in 2021 when he was still 29, but he was still trying. I think that ended his career. He was at Granada, Racing Santander, Extremadura, and then obviously got ill. And it's so sad. It's condolences to all his family and everybody that knew him. Well, anyway, Gazzetta did a news story, and then their last line of the news story after that he died, they were talking about how his career didn't quite work out after Juventus, and they said a very far path from what could have been thought 10 years ago when he signed for Juve. And I'm just thinking, wow. I mean, what is that?
Tone deaf much?
I mean, the poor guy has just died at the age of 32 from cancer, and they're like, oh, how sad, his career didn't quite work out as it looked like it was going to when he joined Juventus in 2014.
To be fair, this has been written in Italian, so there is a bit of could be an issue of lost in translation.
I read it in Italian as well, and it was, trust me, this has been translated into English, yes, but I read it in Italian.
Yeah, I know. And it does come across.
They were talking about his career. They were saying,
I know. It comes a bit
like that even matters.
Exactly, when he's died. I mean, it's a bit tone deaf. It is. No, I'm with you on that. I'm actually with you on that.
Yeah. Okay, right. Let's leave it there. That was
2-hour episode. Which is one of the longer ones we've done. Not quite the longest, but one of the more longer ones. And as you will notice now, people who listen to the pod free, this is there are ads involved if you don't want on everything we publish on the free episode. So if you don't want ads, you can sign up on, or you want to listen to the pod or listen to everything we do without ads. You go on patreon.com/TIFP or YouTube memberships, which the link is in the description and all of that. But we'll be back on Thursday for a post-match reaction, and then Friday morning for patrons we'll be publishing the Q&A.
Let's leave it at that. Ciao, ciao.